Happy Monday! Wiley here, your favorite information scientist. This is the Wiley Report, and I talk about my life as an information science PhD candidate. Sometimes I talk about being a librarian, life, and everything in between. Today, it was a decent day. It was a good day. I did get feedback from one of my committee members, continuing to get things done. I have 6 and 7 to finish and addressing the comments that he has. I have not seen yet if my advisor will have comments as well. And also, it's felt a bit heavy because my mother has been chatting about my aunt, who she feels like is her health is deteriorating since Christmas, even more. And so, since my dad has passed, sometimes my mom just shares in terms of her life, everything she's got going on, or her thoughts or stuff. And I know she and my both my aunts do a prayer circle every night, which my mother leads. And my aunt is physically present, but cognitively not so much. It has good days and bad days, and it's had deteriorating health. And the only thing my mother can really say is she just doesn't look well. She looks sick. And I know with my mother, that relationship with my aunt is characterized by they've lived their whole lives together in terms of being sisters. They lived 12 steps away from each other. In all of my memories of my aunt, she was a voice on the phone, the person that came over. They attended and participated in church ministries together. Both she and my mother, as far as the standards of care from my grandmother when my grandmother had senility in the late 80s, and my grandmother moved in with my aunt and basically was between the two houses. So she's been the voice on the phone, my mother's bestie for so many years. She still does come over and they do have conversations, but it's not always the same. And then my mother, of course, says that she doesn't know if my uncle sees it. My mother and my aunt and her husband have been together since my aunt was in the 9th grade and my uncle was in the 12th, so over 50 years. And they have one child, and my first cousin. And my mother says that my cousin should do more. I don't know what more or less, my cousin should be doing. I don't know her capacity level. Much like my mother says she doesn't think my uncle sees it. I don't know what my uncle sees or doesn't see. It's not like we're having these conversations of how you feel, how you doing. Because when you ask him how you doing, how you feel, he says he's doing okay. This is really as far as you get. So I don't know. I'm not saying he's being disingenuous. I'm just saying I don't know if I'd be the person that he would talk about. I also don't really believe that he doesn't see anything, being that you've lived your whole 50 years with your wife and you're now responsible for her care. So, but people in their level of expression of what it is they say to you or don't say or communicate with you, and are you even that person, are things that I think about. But in these conversations with my mom, I just listen because I'm like, I don't know. But I can imagine with my mother, she's dealing with the grief. Not just of losing, her husband, but she's also lost friends that have passed away that they've been friends 60 plus years. And then she has her sister whose health is deteriorating, and it can be scary to watch. I know for me, sometimes it's hard to sit in the kitchen and have conversations with them, not because I don't love my aunt, but because, it's just, you realize so much has changed. And I go back to this picture of August 2022 when it was a cousin that had come to visit, all of my mother, my aunt, and but my mother's 4 siblings, because it's 3 girls and 1 boy left. My other Uncle Frank passed in the 90s, but he came to visit, and I remember that picture. And I don't think anybody was ever thinking that at some point somebody was going to be gone. That that you take this picture and everything changes. And even though we know, or you hear the song that says life means change, it's unrealistic to believe that it won't. But just realizing how varied the aging process is for everyone, and to not really have a real answer for that. And how in that conversation with my mother, I didn't have any advice, I didn't have any insight, I didn't have anything that I could say to fix it, even though I know she was not asking me to fix it. I wanted to fix it, but I also realized I don't have the ability to do that. I also know the suddenness. My dad was alive in May of 2023. He was the person that had the most health, that was the healthiest, and yet he was gone. And I just felt really outdone with life about that. I'm like, what do you mean? Because his mother, my paternal grandmother, and great aunt lived to 100, 102, and 99 respectively. What do you mean that, he's not going to get a long life? What do you mean that this is the way life is in terms of facing deteriorating health? What do you mean? Sometimes I just don't understand it. And I don't have an answer for it. I don't have anything that I can say to fix it. And I just can sit on the phone and listen. And it also feels real heavy because it's like, well, I can't, so much of decisions, or so much of things that are so unresolved. There isn't anything that you can do or fix, but just listen and hold space for it. But then sometimes it feels like it's too much to hold, because it's like, who's going to take this? Because you leave the phone call feeling so heavy. And even being a person that's, a person that believes in God or has faith, sometimes I feel like faith is a constraint because I don't have answers for why things are the way that they are. You'll know people that have been healed, and then people that they're healing. I'm not saying they're not healed, but it doesn't get healed on the physical earth. They're gone. And I can't give you any type of terminology for why that is, other than the sadness that you feel that their physical presence is no longer here, that it feels like going to visit my mom and my brother. I love, and the aunts and uncles that I have, I'm always glad to see them, but I'm scared all the time because I know the suddenness. It can change in any moment. I'm always, listening for the "we're doing all right," but realize that "we're doing all right" statement is only good enough for the moment. You don't get to control anything. Suddenness is a real thing. And as much as I want them to be superheroes that live forever, that's not realistic. Or when you feel that level of getting impatient, because sometimes when I've gone to visit my mom, she needs help getting into bed. And, I've been a person that's working on my dissertation or just working on other things, but finding myself to tell myself to slow down and just be helpful. And then I thought about that again in terms of being in Walmart, and there was a senior citizen that was taking, what I would consider a long time to make his request for things. And then I thought to myself, in both the parallels of those thoughts, I thought back to my mother in this situation and thought about how, I won't be impatient because I want people to be caring and kind to me when I'm that age. Or when my mother is saying, help her do her exercises, where she exercises her legs, and I'm like, what will 70-year-old Chris's life look like? I hope there'll be people that'll be good and kind and caring to me. I hope that I have, activity in my limbs, as they say, and clothed in my right mind. And I hope that people are good to me. So, adulting. I don't remember this in the instruction manual when I was racing to be an adult. How do you deal with that? Because there have been so many times when talking to the keychain of my father, or sitting in the chair, or writing the letter. I don't know if it's always helpful, because I can't call heaven and say, put my daddy on the phone, or can you come back real quick? You can't say that. And then with my mother, like I said, that's, I can't fix it. And then that's like even going to visit them is hard, because it just feels like, as I was telling a friend, it feels like death is all around. I don't have another way to describe it, but that's the way it feels. And sometimes that's too much to hold, because it's like, I don't take me out the group chat for the strongest soldier, for the person that handles trials and tribulations. I don't want to. But yet I can't fix it. But yet I'm still hoping that they're going to be okay, and realizing that you don't get to control it. life. I don't have no answers. And then trying to be the best version of you and work on your dissertation and be a great spouse and live your life or just do the things that you do. And yet you're also dealing with all those things. And I know everybody has their own thing. It just might not be this thing. So I don't know what kind of update that is, but that's where I'm at. Sending peace, love, and care to you and wherever you find yourself. Thanks for listening.